It appears that W.A.D. from the W.A.D. concept just put out a video where he gets to spar Dillon Danis, and apparently Dillon Danis must have beat him up so badly that he now needs to wear a neck brace. Honestly, I have absolutely no idea how that could happen. Maybe a sick head kick or he choked him wrong. Honestly, we'll find out together. But if you're not familiar with Dillon Danis is somewhat of a polarizing figure in the combat sports world. You could even say he's more tied to the influencer scene because he did box Logan Paul a few years ago. But aside from that, he does have a legit MMA record of 2-0, and then he also does have a legit black belt as well. And he also trained with Conor McGregor, right? So there's a few things going for him in that sense. But he does like to call out UFC fighters out left and right, which is why he's somewhat of a kind of hated figure in this world. But honestly, from what I've seen in clips and shorts about Dillon Danis, I feel like I have a good sense of who he is. He does have a passion for fighting, and hopefully we'll get to learn more about him and see if there's something serious about him when it comes to fighting. Let's check it out.
Folks, I am here with the most hated man in combat sports. In his dungeon, his domain.
It's my house.
This is your house.
Right off the bat, we see that W.A.D. isn't wearing a neck brace. So I'm assuming at some portion in this video, we're going to see what exactly happened that caused him to get that sort of injury. One other thing that W.A.D. does a really good job also is mentioning Dillon Danis' reputation. He brings it up as a meme reputation and not that of a real fighter. And one thing that Dillon Danis says is that he hates boxing, which I understand. He's been training jiu-jitsu since he was a little kid and other martial arts as well. But come on, between you and me, we all know boxing's a lot more fun.
Would you step back into boxing if KSI said, let's do it?
Probably, yeah. I hate KSI. Like, yeah.
Because I know that one.
I don't want to box, but like it's like annoying. And I hate Lou Rockhold, but he said a good quote the other day where he did bare knuckle and he got hit and he was like, yeah, I worked 20 years to get all these tools and I'm not using them. Like, what the fuck am I doing? So it's like, I'm boxing and I worked 20 years or whatever, 16 years to do jiu-jitsu and all this stuff and I can't use it. So it's stupid, but
we also get some interesting backstory as to how he was supposed to fight KSI and then he pulled out, how he started critiquing Jake's resume, which I mean, again, who hasn't? We also get to hear about his knee surgery and how it apparently failed. Now, I've never been injured to the point where you need a surgery, but I absolutely know that it must have sucked. Earlier this year, I injured myself while I was squatting. I heard a crack in my knee, which led to my right leg significantly losing some muscle mass. I can absolutely imagine the annoyance from having an injury that requires some sort of surgery.
the whole thing with like our rivalry started with me and Jake. So
I was going to say, you never actually got a shot
So
at
I was supposed to
Jake.
fight Jake, and then that was right when I had my knee surgery.
Yeah.
It was like maybe like 5-6 months, and then that whole thing. I don't know, remember when we threw the
Yeah, you were talking with Shab.
yeah. So like that was when it all started, and then he offered me $1 million to fight, and then I was like, no, my knee. Like I was like, give me like 3 months. Like literally, I just had knee surgery, and he's like, no, dude, you're being a pussy. I'm like, dude, literally just had knee surgery, and like just give me 3 more months or at least like a little time so I could start training. And then he took the Ben Askren fight. That was when Ben Askren fought, and then he started going off. But like I made him popular in MMA because that was when he called me out, and then I started giving him the tweets and everything because I was hating MMA and I was like, all that shit. So I started giving him all that publicity.
He also mentions that he has suicidal thoughts after losing to Logan Paul, which, again, losing a fight definitely sucks, especially if you put a bunch of effort, dieting, training, all that. It does take a lot out of you. But suicidal, obviously, that's something that's tough to hear. Now, we also hear him claim that he was at some point going to fight Eddie Hall. Now, that would have been a really interesting matchup, right? Personally, I'm a big fan of debates when it comes to can the smaller fighter beat the untrained bigger guy. But in this case, Eddie Hall has also been training quite a bit, and woof, man, the weight difference, I think he would absolutely get demolished. Although I gotta admit, that would have been really interesting, and I would have loved to see that.
The fight itself, I think that's the point where everybody goes back to and was like, what happened for Dillon Danis? What happened that night?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's tough for me. It's been
Do
tough.
you go back and think about it a lot?
Oh yeah. I mean, since that day, I've been like suicidal.
Really?
Yeah, dude, because I know I could beat him, and I know I could do better than that. And I'm very competitive, so like he sucks. I know he sucks. So the whole thing was going to be me main event against Eddie Hall, and he couldn't get to heavy. He couldn't get under 425 pounds or something like that. I'm like, dude, just at least make heavyweight. Like,
That's, by the way, that's fucking wild. You were gonna say yes to
no,
a
no,
MMA
I
fight
said
with Eddie
yes the first time, but we were done. I was like, whatever. And then this time I was like, I'm coming back and I want to make a UFC run, do all this because like I'm getting older and I want to show like, you know, my skills. I want to be a UFC world champion.
Facts.
So like with him, it's like, what does it really make sense? Like you can be Taporia and fight Eddie Hall and it's just like, that's a fucking big dude. You know what I mean?
Now we also get to hear a little bit about what he's doing and thinking of doing in the future. He's been jumping around. I mentioned that he likes to target UFC fighters. Apparently Tony Ferguson is next on his list, and apparently it seems like that's something that could happen if Tony wins his next fight with Salt Poppy, which again, that should be an interesting matchup. I'll be sure to cover that as well. He also mentions the fight that he has coming up with Spencer Warren. Now that's going to be a boxing match, and personally I'm interested in seeing how that's going to go. Obviously, as a pure boxer myself, I root more for the boxer than the MMA guy. But yeah, let's see how that's going to happen. It's going to be a cool fight.
Oh, you're gonna run
Tony,
through
if
this
Tony
kid.
wins, that's
Tony wins, you guys do it.
Yeah.
What happens if Tony doesn't win? Do you have anybody else you wanna? I mean,
I mean, no
Masvidal
one
is
said
there.
yes. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, pull out. And then I was just like, the man's like, yo, fucking just give me anybody at
Right.
this point. And he's like, we got the guys 1-0 in MMA, which he doesn't like to say. The kid says he's never fought, but it's online.
What's his name? The
I
guy
don't
you're fighting?
know. Spencer Warren, I think, or something like that.
Warren Spencer.
Yeah, something. I honestly had no idea anything about this dude. Like you told me before we started this
You're
stuff, but I really
So
don't
they
know.
call him the mechanic.
What?
He hangs out with Andrew Tate. I think he's
Oh,
he's
yeah.
a part of that group.
Yeah.
But you know, he has had a couple boxing matches. He's got some hands.
But he's
to him.
1-0 in MMA, so I was like,
And yeah, he's
all
got
right.
an MMA fight.
So I was like, listen, just give me. And then he said him. I was like, just do it, dude. Like, fuck it. Let's just keep fighting. You know what I mean?
So
like,
what have you seen of him though? Boxing, anything? Have you seen anything of him?
Nah.
Now let's take a brief moment to admire where they're currently going to spar at. I don't know about you, but I'm getting place you get mugged vibes from that place. Hey, but I mean, sometimes those are the best places to train at, right? All right, so taking a look at some of the sparring here, I'm actually kind of surprised by W.A.D.E. I've never seen him spar or fight before. I think he did have a fight I should probably check out as well. But one thing I can definitely tell is that W.A.D.E. has good hand control, especially something that he's doing against Dillon Danis, who is his opposite stance. Something that I've been trying to improve myself in my boxing, again, especially against southpaws. I'm noticing some nice fakes, you know, some nice twitch, make Dillon think he's gonna attack. I'm also seeing some good movement. Now on Dillon's side, he obviously dominated the grappling exchange. He is a black belt, like I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, this is different. Right? This is different.
Go a little bit. Come on. Come on.
But I also really admire that he's been really controlled. He's a playful sparring. It's very controlled striking as well. He's not hitting him hard by any means at all. And one thing that I noticed in this clip right here is that he punches W.A.D.E.'s thigh. Is that an actual technique? Is that an actual thing that people do? Because that would absolutely suck. Because I plan on getting back into kickboxing, Muay Thai, maybe Jiu-Jitsu once my knee fully heals up and I can feel comfortable doing it. But yeah, I would not want to get punched in the thigh. As the sparring continues, I really appreciate the mutual respect both of them have for each other, because at that point, that is when you can start to pick up the pace a little bit. Both guys know that you can handle a little bit more, so it becomes a lot more fun. Yeah, this was a very interesting spar on both sides. I was actually really impressed with both of them. I wasn't sure what to expect, especially from W.A.D.E., but it seems like W.A.D.E. has some legit training under his belt. one thing that we see Dillon mention, and obviously everybody agrees with, is that there are levels to combat sports, and we can see that Dillon Danis is obviously a step above Wade, especially with the jiu-jitsu, takedowns, all that type of training that Wade doesn't seem to have under his belt. We also hear Wade saying that this was his first time getting kicked, which I thought he actually had some kickboxing experience under his belt, but it seems like this was his first time. And as someone who's been kicked in the leg before, that shit sucks. That shit sucks balls. But then he shortly reveals that the damn neck brace, it was just a prop. What the hell? And look, final takeaway from this video, even though Dillon Danis may be somewhat of a troll, I don't think we should sleep on his skills, honestly. If he really wanted to make a real run at fighting UFC fighters and putting his name out there, I think he first needs to improve on his overall record, which I think he wants to. Now, when it comes to his upcoming fight with Warren, which is a boxing match, I think that'll help him increase his exposure and hopefully leverage that into more MMA fights. But if he does get that fight with Tony Ferguson shortly after, I think that'll be a really good test and matchup for Dillon to see where he does stack up. As he's mentioned, there are levels to this, and Tony Ferguson was near the top of those levels. So it'll be interesting to see where Dillon does fall in line in that ranking of levels. If you do like these type of videos, go check out my most recent one where I reacted to Canelo versus Golovkin 1 and 2 as we prepare for his upcoming fight with Crawford. Yeah, check that out, and I'll see you later.